Hey guys, it's Frank from Cruising with Wheels. I'm back in the kitchen today and I'm here to bring you another great recipe. Now this recipe is in honor of my mother. It has several ingredients that she absolutely loves. So today we're gonna make one of her favorites, lemon coconut custard pie. Right here, right now, in Frank's Cooking Corner. My mom and sister are going to be here tomorrow, so I've decided to make her favorite lemon coconut custard pie, and I'm going to bring it to you today. Now, you know, my mother, Phyllis, is going to be 90 in a couple of months. Hey, Mom! And Mom wasn't exactly a cooking maven in the kitchen when we were growing up. You know, she had her moments, but cooking was never one of her favorite things, which is why I learned to cook at an early age. But one of the things she liked to do was bake apple pies, and we loved them. Now, even though they were apples from a can, my mother made her pie crust from scratch, and that's part of what we're going to do today. So, whether you want to buy a frozen pie crust from the store or make your own pie crust from scratch, it doesn't matter because this is a great recipe. And I'm going to tell you what you need to make this pie right here, right now. For the pie filling, you will need 1 13.5-ounce can coconut milk, 1 14-ounce can sweetened condensed milk, 4 large eggs, 1/2 cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons vanilla extract, 1 tablespoon cornstarch, 1/4 cup lemon juice from a real lemon, grated lemon rind, 1 cup sweetened flaked coconut, 1/4 teaspoon salt, 1 rind grater. For your pie crust, you will need 1 frozen pre-made pie crust if you desire. Making a pie crust from scratch, you will need 1 1/4 cup of flour, 1 tablespoon of sugar, 1/2 teaspoon salt, 3 tablespoons butter, 5 tablespoons Crisco shortening, 1/4 cup ice water, a pastry cutter, and 1 9-inch deep dish pie plate. Well, that's all you need to make this pie. So we're going to get started. And I'm going to make you a homemade pie crust. And we're going to take the fear and the mystery out of it. Because it's really relatively simple. Minimal ingredients that pretty much everybody has in their kitchen cupboards. And I'm going to tell you how we do it. And you're going to say to yourself, wow, I could have done this all this time. But boy, it just sounded so scary. But it's not. So, let's get started on the pie crust. Now let's start putting our ingredients together to make this 9-inch deep dish homemade pie crust. So first we're going to start with 1 1/4 cup of flour. And then we're going to add in 1 tablespoon of sugar. Add to that a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. All right, now you just want to give it a little mix up. So I'm going to quickly just give it a stir and get the flour, sugar, and salt all mixed up. Ooh, let's make a mess here. All right. Okay, there you go. You've got half your ingredients already in. Now, how complicated was that? It wasn't at all. So the next thing we're going to add is we've got 3 tablespoons of butter. Now, you want your butter cold. Okay, so make sure that the butter stays in your refrigerator until you're ready to make the crust. The butter must be cold. So let's get 3 tablespoons in there. 1 and 2 and 3. Well, that was easy. Now, the next thing you're going to need is 5 tablespoons of everyone's favorite Crisco shortening. That's right. That's awesome. We love Crisco. No, this is not an endorsement. We're not being paid by Crisco. We just love it. It's great for baking. So let's get 5 tablespoons. And again, a tablespoon is this size. So I'm going to try my best to scoop it out. And, you know, if you get a little bit more, then that's okay. But here's 1. And, ooh, that's loud. There's 2. Three. 4. And 5. Alrighty. Love the Crisco. So let's get all of that off the spoon. Okay. There we go. Now, what is next? Well, what's next is, because you only have one ingredient that's left, and that's the ice water. But before we get to the ice water, you've got to do something with this. You've got to use your pastry cutter. And that's one of my favorite things to do. Isn't that crazy? It's really crazy. You're going to use your pastry cutter because you really need to incorporate all this flour and butter and Crisco. And I'm going to give it a toss and kind of mash it up, especially, the Crisco is nice and soft. The butter, of course, is hard. It's been in the refrigerator. And I'm kind of going to cut that up with my little spoon here. So I'm going to give it a little workout before I go into my cutter. All right, now, here we go. And what you do is you just keep mashing it and mashing it and mashing it. And when you're done, you will know it because there will be no loose flour left. And it will be like nice little flour pebbles. I don't know how else to describe it, but we're going to see. And periodically, you're going to scrape your cutter because, of course, the butter and the Crisco is going to be sticking. So you're constantly doing that. You know, before I got my cutter, I was forced to do this with a big fork. It was really hard to do. This is much easier. And of course, as you know me, I love a nice workout. Now, it is slowly being incorporated, and it's little by little looking like dough. And again, just keep scraping it off your cutter, because again, you want to get that all into the bowl. And I'm going to give it a stir up because I want to check and see how much loose flour is left that isn't incorporated into the butter and the Crisco. We are almost there. Now that didn't take long, but I'm going to give it a few more jabs and just really mash it down. You know, just pretend you're making mashed potatoes, okay? You're not afraid of mashed potatoes, are you? I know I'm not. It's the same thing if you're using this pastry cutter for dough or you're using it for mashed potatoes. It's the same thing. Do not fear it. So, the secret to a successful pie dough is to make sure that your Crisco and your butter are totally incorporated, and that when you're ready, as you're mashing it, you can see that there is no flour left. Absolutely no flour left. And you are now assured that this is ready. So there you go. I mean, it literally was just a few minutes. We're kind of ready here. So I'm going to scrape off the remaining dough that's attached and stuck to my pastry cutter, because I want it all in there. We're done. Let's get that in the sink. And this is what it looks like. You can see, let's see if I get a close-up, there's no loose white flour in the bowl. If you lift it up, you can see the flour has all been incorporated into the butter and the Crisco. And now we are ready to add our ice water. And why does it have to be ice water? Well, it does. Only because, you know, the Crisco is room temperature and soft. And the secret to this crust is the cold butter and the ice water. Now, I had this cup filled with water and several ice cubes in it when we started this. And I'm going to pour this ice water into my 1/4 cup measuring cup here. But I'm only going to add a little at a time. Don't do it all at once. You will know when you need it. You may not need all 1/4 cup of ice water, but the ice water and the cold butter is what is going to keep this dough nice and firm, because you don't want it soft and too elastic, because it's going to be hard to work with. So we're going to get a little of this water in here. Let's see. That's about half of it. We mix it up. Yeah, I think it's going to take the entire 1/4 cup. And you know what? If it's way too sticky, that's okay, because you can always add a little bit more flour, because you want to be able to handle it without it sticking to your hands. Now you notice my ring is gone. I took it off because I will now be manhandling this dough. So let me mix this up so that the rest of that water, and you can see as I'm mixing, it's a little sticky. Okay, and it's all right. Okay, now we are ready to start getting our dough on the counter and getting it the consistency that we need and getting it shaped to make our pie crust. Okay, I dumped the dough on the counter. I have cleaned the counter before I did this, and if you're touching it, you can see it feels a little sticky. Yeah, and a little too sticky. So I'm going to take a little flour And I'm just going to rub it in my hands. And I'm going to play with the dough. Press it out, turn it over, got a little bit more flour in it. And then you're going to feel that it's not sticky anymore. Okay? There's nothing sticky about it, but that's as far as you want to go. Okay? Now get it into a nice little disc, little round disc. The thing is not to overwork the dough. If you keep playing with it and rolling and kneading it, the dough is going to end up being tough. And you do not want that. So get it into a nice little disc, just like this. And see, no real sticking. So that's good. But what I'm going to do now is we're going to chill this dough in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. So get some plastic wrap. And let's wrap the dough. There you go. It's a cute little disc. And we're going to get it in the refrigerator again, as I said, for about 30 minutes. So while this is chilling in the refrigerator, I'm going to get the rest of the ingredients I need for this pie filling out on the counter and measured out. And then after that's done, we're going to come back and we're going to roll this out and get it in a pie plate and work our magic. Well, the 30 minutes is up and I've taken my pie dough out of the refrigerator. So let's unwrap it. Nice and cool. And again, that's what you want. So before I put it on the counter, I'm going to sprinkle my counter with flour. You're going to need this. This is my flour board, is my counter. Now those of you that have maybe a plastic roll-out pastry sheet or an actual wooden cutting board, whatever it is you want to use, you just go ahead and use it. But this is what I use. Get a little flour on my hands, and I'm going to start making this small round disc a little bit bigger with my hands. Again, you can see this is not complicated. I think we probably all learned this in kindergarten. Circles. That's all a pie plate is a circle. And as I press it out, and again, you can see hopefully see the bits of cold butter. That's good. We need to get this rolled out quickly. You don't want this whole dough to get really warm and soft. Then it becomes sticky, and it's all going to get soft and break apart, and that's what you don't want. So as I press it out, I'm going to flip it. And again, make sure that my board here is covered in flour. And I'm using my hands to make sure it's a nice round pie crust. You don't want to start with jagged edges. You start with something round. And now I think we're ready to roll it out with the rolling pin. And here's my rolling pin. Again, always have extra flour on hand to make sure that your rolling pin and the top of your pie crust, you're able to make sure that nothing sticks. You do not want this crust to stick to your rolling pin. And you roll it side to side, forward and back. And you just keep doing that. Now, it's all up to you as to how thick you want your pie crust. Of course, the ideal is that obviously this has to fit my 9-inch deep dish pie plate. Now, I don't mind a somewhat thick crust. I mean, not too thick. I don't like a wimpy thin crust. So that's what I like. I'm not sure what you guys like or what you're used to. But as you're rolling it, if it starts to look a little translucent and you can start to see underneath, it's too thin. But we have our pie plate. Here it is. And you want to make sure that this is going to be big enough that as you put it in, it's going to come up the sides and you're going to be able to crimp it. And it's going to be what we call pretty. So I'm going to give it a few more rolls here. And then we're going to get it into the pie plate. Again, as you can see, this is not rocket science. You're rolling it, and you want to make sure that it's an even, round circle. And that you're constantly looking, is this going to fill my pie plate? And I think this is quite large. So now I'm going to show you how I get this into the pie plate and hopefully not break it. And I have my trusty spatula. Love the spatula. And I know all of you are going to say, oh, well, that's not how I do it, and you should do this, and you should try that. This is what works for me, and so I always stay with what I know. Not that I'm not open to new ideas, because I am. But again, for this video, I certainly don't want things to go wrong. So I use my spatula, and I loosen, and again, I get my hand under. I'm looking to loosen 1/2 of the pie crust from my counter, or from my board. And I just want to get in half. Now, it looks like I'm half. I get my hand under the bottom, and I get my spatula, and I'm going to give it a nice flip. And I'm going to flip this entire pie crust in half. There you go. Well, that wasn't hard. And now I'm going to loosen the other half and make sure nothing is stuck to my board. Okay? Again, this is not rocket science. So, let me now get all this excess flour off. I'm ready to bring over my pie plate. Oh, here it is. And now what I'm going to do is lift the entire thing into the pie plate at the halfway mark. Now, this is why people are afraid of making their own crusts, because they say, well, I maybe can get to the rolling out part, but then I try to pick it up and then it breaks and it looks awful. Well, you have to do everything in stages. And here we have flipped it in half, and we're now going to lift it and just lay it in the halfway mark of the pie plate. There you go. I will now use my toweling to get the rest of this flour off. We want a clean surface, and I don't want my pie plate, the bottom of my pie plate, to be gunked up with flour. Okay, so there you go. Let me see if we can get that so you can see it. Okay, so there you go. That was relatively easy. We did the rollout. We did the loosening 1/2, we flipped it, and then we lifted it into the pie plate. Now the last part is to gently, and again gently, but it's already in the pie plate, so not much can go wrong. Take it and just flip it. Gently. And if you have to move it, like I need a little bit more here, you can press down where the excess and use your hands to move it to the side that you need it, because the dough is very movable. So there you go. That's it. You have your pie crust in your pie plate. And it wasn't that complicated. Nobody suffered, at least of all me. And you'll live to tell the tale. So now what do? Well, now we have to make it pretty. So I get my knife and I start cutting off the edges right to the edge of the glass plate. Very gently. I go around and I make a nice even cut. And I get all that excess off. And there you go. Okay, now if you can manage this knife, you are halfway home. Again, this is not complicated. There, we've got the excess off. And now we're going to crimp it. And we're going to make it what we call pretty. Okay, so I don't know if those of you know how to crimp, but you basically get your fingers, let me see if I can get it close, and kind of squeeze it in different, I fold the dough under a little, under, and then I push forward with one thumb and push back with my finger. And it's just a matter of going around the pie plate, turning, fold under and pinch, fold under and pinch. We're almost done. I hope I haven't scared any of you away from this, because again, this is very simple. Simple ingredients, rolling out a dough, putting it in a pie plate. That's it. There you go. I don't know how else to make it simple, and I know that every one of you can do it. So now that this is in the pie plate and it's crimped and it's pretty, I'm going to start making the rest of this recipe. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to pop this back in the refrigerator to keep it chilled. Now it's time to work on that custard filling. But first, we have to attack that lemon. Yep. We've got to grate the lemon rind and get as much out of that as we can, and then squeeze all the lemon juice out of that lemon. So let's get rolling. Now the first thing we want to do in preparation of getting our custard mixture together is you have to start with the lemon. Now here I have a nice sized lemon. I have washed it. It is clean because Lord only knows how much it was manhandled at the grocery store. So that being said, we are now ready to use our grater. And basically any time that you're grating a lemon or an orange or anything, for the lemon you want to keep rubbing it. And as you rub it and grate it, keep an eye on it, because you only want the outer yellow rind. So be cognizant of how much you're grating, because as you get down to the white, that is what you do not want. Do not grate all the way down to the flesh of the lemon, because that white part of the rind is very, very bitter. And that is what you do not want. You only want the yellow outer rind. So just keep grating it and just kind of focus on the sections of the lemon and just keep rotating, turning and rotating and getting all that yellow off. And if you can see, I'll be scraping all of this when I'm done. Ooh, you can really smell it. That's going to be really nice in this pie. So, we're just going to grate away. And there you have it. That only took about a minute and a half. And I got all the yellow rind off of this lemon. And of course, we're going to cut this in half and squeeze the juice out of it. But let me set this aside here. And you can see the rind I got off. And I'm going to scrape as much as I can from this. Because we want as much of this lemon rind in our pie as we can get. And this was not complicated. So you can use this little grater, or maybe you have a large, like a cheese grater that you use. Whatever you can, there's a variety of products that you can use to grate. And there you have it. So there's the rind. And now I want to get the 1/4 cup lemon juice out of this. So I'm going to cut this in half. And I'm going to squeeze it in this bowl. Oh, see if I can get some strength in my hands. Kind of cover it as you squeeze. You don't want to get that lemon squirt in your eyes. That would make you cry. And there's no crying when you're making pie. I'm squeezing as hard as I can because I need that 1/4 cup. But don't worry, I've got a backup plan. I only got 1 lemon. So we're going to see how this works, because you might need 2 lemons. But always have a backup. Oh, yeah. Okay. Woo! That baby was tough. Oops. Oh, no. Don't take my rind away. Alrighty now. I've got some lemon juice. I see some seeds. Let's scoop them out. Nobody wants that in the pie. So you can use a little strainer. I only see 3, so it's no big deal. No sense in dirtying up another little kitchen gadget. As long as I get it out, that's all that matters. Yep, that's looking good. So, do you think we got our 1/4 cup? Well, here's my 1/4 measuring cup, and I'm going to pour it in, and let's see what we got. Well, it's not quite 1/4 cup, but that's okay, because again, I always have a backup. I always have 100% lemon juice in my refrigerator. I'm always, you know me. Chicken French recipe always has lemon juice in it, so I always have lemon juice in it. So I'm going to supplement this with some lemon juice and make sure I have that full 1/4 cup. And that's how you work your lemon. Now it's time to mix together all the ingredients to make the custard. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to combine our 4 eggs with our 1/2 cup of sugar. So here's my 4 eggs. Half a cup of sugar. And we're going to give it a quick little mix up with the mixer. that was lovely. Okay, now the next thing is we're going to add the 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. One and 2. That was easy. Nothing complicated here. And next on our list is we're going to add the lemon juice. And remember, we squeezed most of that 1/4 cup of lemon juice out of the lemon. So let's get that lemon juice in here. I'm going to give it, well, no, I'm going to wait. I'm going to add the coconut milk. Yeah, I'm going to add the 1 can. It's at 13.5 ounces, and I've used Goya coconut milk. So I'm going to put that in. And now I'm going to give it a little mix. There we go. Next, we're going to add the 1 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk. And so you can see how thick it is. And you all know that if you've used this, you're going to get to the bottom of this can and you're really going to have to scrape it out because it really, really is ultra thick at the bottom. And you're really going to have to force it out of the can. You want all that sweet goodness out. Okay, very good. We're then going to add 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. Okay. And I'm going to gently break it up. I don't want it in some crazy giant lump. There you go. And finally, we have our 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Whoopsie, not too much. Let's level that baby off. There you go. So that's pretty much everything so far. And now we're gonna beat it and blend it together. That's pretty good. It looks well blended to me. So I'm going to get rid of this. And we're going to set that aside. I had a little splatter from my bowl, so I'm going to wipe my hands. And now we're going to gently fold in all that wonderful lemon rind. So let's make sure it's not all clumped. Let's get it all in there. And again, we're not going to beat it. It's a gentle fold. It'll break apart from the clumps as you're stirring it in this custard mixture. Now that's so far 99% of the ingredients. Now, one last thing before we get this into the pie. You want to make sure that this is as lemony as you'd like it. So I'm going to give it just a tiny, tiny, tiny little tip of my tongue taste. Because, you know, I know it's custard, it has raw eggs in it, but you really have to test it. You want it nice and lemony. Yes. That is very lemony between the fresh lemon juice and the lemon rind. That's good. Okay, we are now ready for the final step. And the final step is that we're going to get the pie crust out of the refrigerator. So let me lean over for a second. I'll be right back. Thank goodness everything is at my fingertips here in my little cooking corner. So we are now going to take 1 cup of the sweetened flake coconut and we're going to put it on the bottom of our unbaked pie crust. And just move it around. Make sure it's nice and evenly distributed. Now what do? We are ready to pour the custard in. And that's it. That's all you got to do. Pour it in. I do a nice creative circular motion just because I want to be difficult. There you go. Look at that. And this is why you need that 9-inch deep dish pie plate, because it really, really fills it. So we are now ready to get it into the oven. As I said, it's already preheated. It's a slow bake at 325 degrees. So let's get it in the oven. There you have it. It is in the oven, and we're going to set the timer for 1 hour, and then we're going to check it to see that it's thoroughly baked and set. And again, you all know oven temperatures vary, so keep checking on it. Some of you might say, you know what? I'm going to start off with 50 minutes and then check it. And if it needs more, I'll give it another 10 minutes or so. Whatever your little baking game is, that's what you do. So let's get this closed and let the baking commence. Well, the pie is done, and I've got it out of the oven, and it's on the stove so it can cool naturally. Because when it's done its cool down, I'm going to get it into the refrigerator where I want it to chill for several hours before we start slicing it up to eat. Now, you know that when Kevin gets home from work, he is going to see that pie in the refrigerator and he is going to want a piece for dessert tonight. I'll have to make sure I watch him because I've got to have this pie tomorrow for my mom. And of course my sister, who will also be over. So we'll see you then. Well, there it is. It's out of the oven, and it did take a little extra 5 minutes. So in my oven, it took about 1 hour and 5 minutes. And I, of course, did the little stick test. So it is nice and baked and set. So we're going to let this sit on the stove. I'm going to say for about 1 hour. That's just an estimate. I just want to make sure that that pie dish is still not hot. I need it to cool down before I put it in the refrigerator for a nice chill.
I just got home and Frank's asleep and I found this whole pie that he must have made for me while I was at work. So I think I'm going to eat it for dinner. Well, at least I'll have a piece before dinner and he'll never know. I think it's it's a lemon coconut custard pie. The luckiest man on earth.
Wow, look at that nice, beautiful pie. Why is there a piece missing on that pie?
Isn't that pie for me? That piece?
Yeah, Ma, it was for you. And I think I had a little mouse searching my refrigerator last night while I was sleeping, and somebody snatched a piece of your pie.
Well, that mouse took a very big piece.
He did.
I hope he liked
had
it.
a lot of nerve.
He did. It's a beautiful looking pie, Mom.
Okay, let's get a piece of it.
Okay, Mom, this pie looks really good. I'm so glad Frank baked for us.
Is it lemony?
It's lemony, it's creamy.
Very
You can taste the
good.
coconut.
Yeah.
And the crust is very good.
And I love coconut.
I know you do, Mom.
Well, that's why I made it your two favorite, lemon and
this is
coconut.
really good.
And it was, I made it, it was really fast. Very simple, very easy.
It is.
Mom, I used your pie crust recipe. So, everyone.
I like the custard in it.
Yeah.
It's nice and creamy. It's
Yeah,
really
and,
good.
it chilled overnight in the
did.
refrigerator, so it makes the custard really.
You would have to eat it cold, though, right?
Yeah,
I would like it that way.
Good.
Good crust, too.
Cece and Delilah are dying to come in because they want pie.
No pie.
Yeah, I
Oh, this is
know.
really good.
I know.
You're the best baker.
I want to eat it myself.
I know. I don't know if I can make this pie.
I know. Well, you know, you're going to get care packages, so I'll cut you a couple of pieces for Janine, for you and David, and Mom, I'll give you two little pieces.
Yeah, you get little
Wow.
ones.
Wonderful.
And I gotta save some for the little mouse that scavenges around my kitchen, whose name is Kevin.
But he doesn't like lemon and coconut like Mom does.
I know.
But he ate it anyway.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
he does.
Because he thought it was for him.
Okay, so do I get a thumbs up endorsement for everybody?
Big thumbs up. Excellent. Everything you make is good, really. I've never had bad food over here, that's for sure.
Okay. All right.
I love this pie.
Mom, you just like pie.
Where's Grandma? Yeah. Delilah.
Where'd you get this recipe?
Oh, I'm not sure where I got it. Oh, there's Delilah. Hi, Delilah.
Over there.
You're trying to get pie.
I'm not
to
giving any of
Janine.
my pie. You can forget it. You too. And she's not giving you mine either.
You little scamps. Hey, babies. Yep, they're in the dining room with us and apparently trying to
eat pie.
convince Aunt Janine and Grandma to give them some pie.
They can forget it.
Yeah, that's not happening. Cece's on her bench. Now she's off
We
her
are
bench.
eating it.
All right, we're going to say goodbye. Say goodbye to everybody.
Bye, everybody. Have a good day.
Well, I think the pie was a great hit. And I want to thank my mom, Phyllis, and my sister, Janine, for joining me today in this episode of Frank's Cooking Corner. And I want to remind all of you that if you're not cooking up a storm in the kitchen and you're out on the high seas, always remember, travel safe and cruise often.